all council members to silence and put away cell phones. If you need to step away or attend to personal matters, please make a motion to recess. For those participating by phone, please keep your device muted unless you are speaking. When speaking, kindly state your name for the benefit of those viewing the live stream. As a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast live. The camera is located above the clock at the back of the council chambers. Our proceedings follow Robert's Rules of Order as set forth in Wasilla Municipal Code 2.04.090. To promote an orderly and respectful meeting, I respectfully ask the council to observe the following rules. Please seek recognition before speaking. No member may speak more than twice on the same motion without a vote to suspend the rules. No member may speak a second time until all who wish to speak have had the opportunity to do so. These guidelines help ensure fairness, efficiency, and mutual respect during our discussions. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Cottle is absent and excused unless objection is raised. She is en route to the AML conference and is going to try to call in. So we may hear from her later in the meeting. But for now, she's absent. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Here.
Councilmember Crafton.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
And Deputy Mayor Rubio.
Here.
You do have a quorum. All members are present with us in chambers except Councilmember Cottle, who may participate telephonically later in the meeting.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Graham, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item of business is approval of the agenda. Before changes are discussed, are there conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none, I'll take requested changes to the agenda, but before doing so, I would like to remove resolution serial number 26-47, item 8.3.1 from the consent agenda to new business. Are there further changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Unanimous consent, sorry. Woo. We are now at special orders of the day, and there is one proclamation I will read for City of Wasilla proclamation recognizing September 11th as Patriot Day and a National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, our nation endured an unprecedented tragedy that claimed the lives of nearly 3,000 innocent people in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. And whereas the events of that day revealed the resilience, courage, and unity of the American people as first responders, service members, and everyday citizens demonstrated extraordinary heroism and selflessness. And whereas Patriot Day and the National Day of Remembrance honors the victims of the attacks, their families, and the countless individuals who rose in service to their communities and nation during and after the tragic events. And whereas September 11th, 2026, our nation observes the 25th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, marking a significant milestone to reflect on the lasting impact of that day and to honor the enduring strength of the American spirit. And whereas communities across the nation continue to demonstrate resilience through service, remembrance, and commitment to the values that bind us together as Americans. And whereas we salute those who responded to the tragic events with their courage and selfless determination, resources, and skills. And whereas the city stands in solidarity with communities across the country to remember and honor the sacrifices made on September 11, 2001, and to reaffirm our shared dedication to freedom, unity, and service. Now, therefore, I, Glenda D. Ledford, Mayor of City of Wasilla, hereby proclaim September 11, 2026 as Patriot Day, a national day of service and remembrance in Wasilla, and encourage all residents to observe this day through moments of silence, acts of services, and reflection in honor of victims, survivors, first responders, and all those whose lives were forever changed, reaffirming our commitment to the values of freedom, courage, compassion, and unity, dated this 25th day of August 2026. We are now at commissions and agency reports. We will begin with a report on the Airport Commission from Public Director Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Last Thursday, we had our August Airport Advisory Commission meeting. We went over project updates, and then the commission also passed a resolution of support for the ongoing land purchase and expansion of the 5,100-foot runway, which we're eligible now for. So I'll be submitting that to the council shortly in this week, so that you have it come before you at the next meeting. That's my report. Thanks.
Thank you. And next is our report on the Planning Commission, but our acting city planner is not here. So if you would please refer to the notes in the packet.
Meeting minutes.
The meeting minutes are there. We'll conclude commission and agency reports with a presentation on city sales tax regulation and exemptions from tax auditor and accountant Graham.
Okay, we're up. So Maureen Graham, sales tax accountant and auditor at the city of Wasilla. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members. I've been asked to provide the council with an overview of the city of Wasilla's current business licensing, sales tax exemptions, and protest procedures, and identify potential policy changes for future council consideration.
Excuse me, Maureen, can you move that microphone a little closer? Thank you.
You bet. Okay, can you hear me now?
Thank you.
So I've been asked to provide the council with an overview of the city of Wasilla's current business licensing, sales tax exemptions, and protest procedures, and identify policy changes, potential policy changes for future council consideration. There's a lot of information to get through, so we'll try to cover it fairly quickly. And I'll try not to get too far in the weeds or put you to sleep with my tax nerd speak. And I'm sorry to everyone who has to wait to speak after me. So if you have questions along the way, we'll break in between the sections here. So feel free to ask them along the way or interrupt me if you feel the need to. So we'll begin with licensing. So who needs a license? A person or entity that engages in business in the city with a location in the city, either permanent or temporary, meets the physical presence requirements under Wasilla Municipal Code 5.16 sales tax, is required to have a City of Wasilla business license. We have two types of licenses: an annual expiring December 31st of the calendar year it's been issued in, and a temporary or special event license that's good for 7 days from the start of the event. The city issues a license for each location or each line of business that the licensee engages in business. The current license fees are $25 for an annual license and $10 for a special event license. The payment is waived for nonprofits designated as a 501c, C3, C4, or C19 with the IRS. We also waive the fee for additional locations in the city, secondary or third locations, or additional lines of business with the same business name. The state of Alaska business licensing allows for one license for multiple business locations and multiple lines of business for one fee, and we mirror that in spirit. However, our software systems only allow for one license location and one line of business classification code to be identified and printed on each license. So we offer secondary or third or whatever to accommodate that. Submitted applications are reviewed by the planning department to determine if permitting is required for the use under the Title 16 and notify the applicant of any violations. They're also reviewed by the finance department to determine if delinquent debts are owed to the city by any of the owners or officers or members of the entity for back sales tax, utilities, special assessments, or basically any debt owed to the city. We also verify professional licensing with the state of Alaska when required, and document legal entities are registered with the State of Alaska Division of Corporations. Once approved by the Planning and Finance Departments, an approval email is sent with instructions to print the business license. For those with paper applications that submit, the license is mailed or available for pickup. Applications that cannot be approved will be sent an inspection report with deficiencies identified from each department that are necessary for approval of the license. Business licenses are non-transferable. If a business is sold or transferred in the city must be notified within 15 days of the transfer. The name and contact information of the new owner it should be provided, and submission of final sales tax returns should be submitted. All sales tax should be paid in full and must be paid in full before a new license can be issued. If purchasing a business, it's incumbent upon the purchaser to ensure all taxes are paid prior to the transfer of the business to prevent any unpaid sales tax liabilities under Wasilla Municipal Code. To close a business, the city must be notified in writing with the submission of final sales tax returns within 15 days of the closure or the date that the business is no longer operating in the city. Does anybody have questions so far? Okay.
What happens when somebody goes out of business and they don't notify you? Why is that 15 days in the code?
Well, it gives us a time frame to start trying to address it, but after that, if they don't notify us, it just causes the city a lot of extra work to try to track them down to figure out what's going on, why they aren't contacting us. There's really no penalty, but we try to put in guidance so that they know that they need to do this quickly, get taxes in, and it becomes an issue, especially if they don't do that when they're transferring a business, because then when the new person comes in, if there's back taxes owed, it needs to be a seamless transition. So we put the rules in there, but unfortunately, compliance on it is difficult to maintain because if they don't tell us, we don't have a mechanism to do anything. But it helps if we can get compliance. So we always have the information out there for people and try to get them to do that. And we have the information on our website as well as the closure form that we have on our online meeting website.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, sales tax basics. A 2.5% sales tax is levied on all sales, rentals, and services made in the city that are not expressly exempt in code. This rate became effective on December 1st, 2019. The sales tax was passed by voters and became effective July 1st, 1993. I've included a history of the rate changes for various projects that's been funded with temporary increases over the years. I've been here for 5 of these changes and joked that it's put at least some of the gray hair on my head. Changes to the sales tax rate and the code in general require multiple notices and education for all businesses, as well as compliance efforts by the city to ensure the changes are properly executed by the businesses. There's a cap on the first $500 of each transaction, or $12.50 at the city's current tax rate. Many communities in Alaska have a sales tax cap, and the amounts vary by jurisdiction. Sales tax caps are kind of unique to the state of Alaska because we don't have a statewide sales tax. And that all businesses would be required to collect. So the cap helps to keep local businesses competitive with businesses operating in areas where there is no sales tax. Communities in more isolated areas tend to have a higher tax cap as there's less competition for sales outside of their boundaries. Wasilla Municipal Code provides guidance regarding the max tax calculations for specific transactions. Services rendered over a month are capped on the first $500 for each month, even if invoiced or paid at one time. And service contracts for 6 months would be prorated for each month and only capped if the monthly amount is over the transaction cap per month. Short-term rentals, the cap is applied to the daily rental rate, not the entire stay. So if the daily rent rate was more than $500, then the portion over $500 would be exempt each day. Capital leases or financing leases are treated as a sale on the effective date of the contract and subject to the maximum tax as one transaction. Other lease types are taxed with the principal amount of the lease payment for the term of the lease. If a purchase is made at the end of the lease, then that's taxed as a separate transaction and subject to the cap. Interest and financing charges are related to the lease payment, are not subject to sales tax. Installment payments are taxed as a single transaction collected on the first payment. And products with service transactions in excess of 500 are exempt when the product and the service are billed or invoiced together, and the service is directly related or integral to the product purchase, such as delivery, installation, warranty, or repair. Service transactions are taxed on each separate service over $500, whether invoiced or paid individually, collectively, or collectively for the period. Application of sales tax. A local sale is made when the seller establishes physical presence in the city by one or more of the following, and the sale has a point of delivery within the city. Physical presence is created when the business has a brick and mortar or temporary location in the city, physically solicits business or receives orders through any employee, agent, salesperson, or other representative in the city, physically provides services, holds inventory within the city, rents, sells, or leases property that's located in the city, or constructs, repairs, renovates, or improves real property that's located in the city. A seller that makes a local sale is required to obtain a city business license and report and remit sales tax directly to the city of Wasilla. A seller that establishes physical presence and a point of delivery in the city for any calendar year is deemed to have a physical presence in the city for the following calendar year. After that year, if they no longer have physical presence, they can close their account out. Or if they continue in the future or establish it in the future, they would reopen at that point. Remote sales are made when a remote seller or marketplace facilitator without a physical presence in the city makes sales of products, rentals, or provides services transferred electronically or delivered to a point of delivery located inside the city and subject to the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Code adopted by reference in Wasilla Municipal Code 5.16.225. Marketplace facilitators' centralized administrative provisions are what council just passed last month, which allows for local sales of goods, services, and rentals made through marketplace facilitators having a point of delivery in the city to be considered remote sales and collected through the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission. The Alaska Uniform Remote Seller Sales Tax Code that was adopted by reference in our code requires remote sellers with no physical presence in the city to register and remit sales tax with a point of delivery in the city when their statewide sales meet or exceed $100,000 in the current or preceding calendar year. Those taxes are remitted to the ARSSTC and collections are sent to the city the following month.
Madam Deputy Mayor. Sorry, can we go back to that real quick? Mary? Sorry, I'm just trying to get could you give me an example of a business that falls under this?
Sure. So anybody who's making a sale in the city by remote means, so one of your online remote sellers, if they are selling into the city, they don't have physical presence here, but they meet the point of delivery. So the next question is, do they have $100,000 worth of sales into the state? If they do, then they're required to register and collect tax with the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission, ARSSTC. If they don't meet that threshold, they will not collect or register until they do, unless they voluntarily do it. Some of them do that, but yeah. And the ARSSTC does monitor that, and they have some that they've weeded out that don't meet those thresholds, but a lot of the companies, they use taxware companies that help them know when those thresholds are coming up, because it's not just our state that has that threshold. So they're monitoring any states that they're doing sales into for that magic number. And when they hit it, then they register. And then they have, I think, a number of days that they need to register within before they're, penalized.
So the best example is probably Amazon.
Yes, so, well, Amazon is one. We also have Amazons that local sales apply to because, Amazon has a local presence in our community through sales delivery trucks and things like that. So they do remit to us directly. But their other side of their business, that is the marketplace facilitator side where people sell their products on their website, would be, the one that remits through the ARSSTC. Shopify, Wayfair, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Apple, all of those guys that remit any kind of remote sales.
Perfect, thank you.
Now, you said that, the remote solar sales tax corporation remits that money to you within 30 days. How long has it been since they remitted that within 30 days? It's my understanding they're closer to 90 days out. Is that incorrect?
No, they actually do it every month. So, it's a little delayed though, because let's see, June sales tax is due the end of July for all businesses. So the ARSTC receives the money in July. They then, once July is closed out, they balance those out. And they remit it to us. Usually, they try to do it by the 15th, but due to system constraints and other issues, it's been pushed back a little bit. So it's usually pushing the end of our month. And then it takes us a few days, weeks, sometimes to get those payments in because we do individually receipt them. That is something that we do for tracking purposes, and we're working hopefully with our new systems when we convert to Tyler, we'll be able to electronically put those payments in so that we won't be spending so much manual time entering those payments. But since we've done it for so long, I hate to lose that history or have a gap in the history, knowing that we're going to be converting to Tyler in the next year or a little over a year.
Thank you.
So we continue to do it, even though it takes a little bit of time. Any other questions? Sourcing of sales tax and point of delivery. Point of delivery is the location where the sale or service is received by the buyer, where they take possession or make first use of services. Wasilla Sales Tax Code provides specific guidance in its definition of point of delivery when the product is not received or paid for by the purchaser at a business location of the seller in the city. The sale is considered delivered to the location where received by the purchaser or the purchaser's recipient. An example would be an online or phone sale that's delivered to a location in the city. It's taxable wherever that location in the city would be. So it'd be a city sale. When the product is received or paid for by the purchaser who's physically present at a business location in the city, the sale is considered to have been made in the city where the purchaser is present, even if delivery of the product takes place in another taxing jurisdiction or outside the taxing jurisdiction. These sales are reported and the tax is remitted directly to the city. So this would be if you went to a store in the city, paid for, say, an appliance, and you're in the store paying for it, you would pay sales tax at the store, because even if you have it delivered to your home outside the city or in another location like Palmer, it's considered a city sale. When services are not received by the purchaser at the business location of the seller, the service is considered delivered to the location where the purchaser receives the service. Products or services that are transferred electronically or other sales where the delivery address for the purchaser is unknown, then the point of delivery shall be the billing address of the buyer. And when products and services are transferred electronically or sales where the delivery address for the purchaser is unknown, the point of delivery shall be the billing address of the buyer. These rules were specifically written to match sourcing language in the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission to uniformly source the sales tax and prevent double tax situations for both the remote and local sales that cross jurisdictional, tax jurisdictional boundaries. The city of Palmer also uses the same language, which is helpful since they're so close to us. The code has rules for specific types of businesses. For real estate transactions, the commissions and fees are taxed for the sale, lease, or management of properties that are located in the city. There's also specific rules for the sale of gaming property as well as coin-operated machines. The city has tons of information to help assist businesses with understanding their responsibilities for collection and remittance of sales tax on our website, as well as links to our sales tax code. We have pages for licensing and pages for sales tax, and lots of links in between. We also have a flow chart for both sales and services to assist businesses with more complex points of delivery that cross taxing jurisdictions or that may have remote sales into or out of the city. Businesses that have questions are encouraged to request a tax ruling on any specific questions for their business that they may have. Additionally, the city is working with the Small Business Development Center to provide education classes for new businesses. Currently, these are offered in person, but hopefully soon will be available on demand as well. We also work collaboratively with the borough and neighboring cities and the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission to educate businesses and refer them to other entities or agencies when applicable. Sales tax filing and remittance. Tax returns are due monthly, but businesses may request to file on an annual or quarterly basis if they have a timely filing history for the prior year and meet taxable sales thresholds of $150,000 for quarterly and $6,000 for annual. Request forms are available in the finance department and on our website.
Are those numbers correct? It says quarterly 150,000, but annual 6,000. Is it 15,000 quarterly and then 1,500 quarterly to be
So-
6,000 annually?
Those are annual numbers, so if they have sales that are $150,000 annually, then they qualify for being a quarterly filer.
Okay,
If they have $6,000 or less annually, then they can be an annual filer.
thank you.
Yeah. And that 6,000 basically equates to $12.50 a month. So like if they had one max transaction, they could do annual. Other than that, it's infrequent that we do that, but we do have a lot of businesses that file zeros for the entire year for different reasons. And so this gives us an option to give them an annual return. Other than that, we try to limit it in case, because some people say they're gonna not do something and then they end up doing it. So it's best to try them out at quarterly if we're unsure, which is why we require the year prior history. Although we do sometimes make exceptions for businesses that are obviously probably not going to meet that transaction level. Credit and debit cards may be used for payments made online only, and they incur a 3% convenience fee. There is no fee for online e-checks. Cash and check are or can be remitted directly to the finance department office. Businesses may take a 2% credit of the tax amount due up to $100 per tax return for on-time payments. Payment is late if it's not received in the finance office by the last by the last day of the month following the period, the reporting period. Postmarks are not considered, so it has to be received in our office. Penalties are 5% of the tax amount due for each month that the return is late, maxing at 20% with an additional late fee of $25. Interest accrues daily at 15%. And additional civil penalties are charged if the city does not receive a tax return at all and has to estimate the tax owed. Penalty waivers are allowed one time in a 12-month period. Penalties may be waived, but not the interest or the credit for prompt pay. Electronic tax returns are available online in our online software program UniRevs. Instructions for each line of the tax return can be expanded by clicking on the line item of the return. Returns must be electronically signed, dated, and then submitted for payment, either with e-check or a credit or debit card. They also may be saved as a pending form and then payment sent in or brought in if people don't want to, pay online. For those that are technology challenged or adverse and prefer to do their paper returns, we do have paper forms in our office as well as on the website. We do not mail sales tax returns, so businesses are encouraged to sign up for online account, even if they don't file that way, just so they receive reminder and email notices of due dates. If they don't do that and they forget, then they don't get notified until they're late, and then they get a late notice.
So I have a question regarding online tax payments. We have a 3% convenience fee if someone pays with a credit card, but if they decide to skip the 3% fee and walk in and talk to you and pay that way,
They
Does-
can't.
what's that?
They can come in and pay, but they can't pay with a credit card. They
Right.
have to only do.
Right, but what I'm saying is if they pay online, isn't that more convenient for us?
It is.
And so doesn't it seem odd that we're charging them a convenience fee? I know a lot of, credit card companies and things nowadays say the convenience fee is, well, if you want a paper bill,
Mhm.
then there's a convenience fee, and if you just handle it online, they don't charge anything extra.
Yeah.
What is the,
I think the basis there is that a lot of businesses or, people in general want to pay a lot of things online with their credit cards because they get benefits for those transactions. These tend to be large transactions on some businesses. The fees are pretty high. I mean, we're getting charged 3% by the credit card companies, and so we want to be able to pass that on and not to other taxpayers because it's the taxpayers that are paying those fees. It's certainly something that can be looked at. It's not, it's mostly policy. I don't think there would be any reason that you guys couldn't change it if you wanted to. I'm sure that the finance department could get those numbers together for you of how much the credit card charges are versus, what we would be paying or what the taxpayers would be paying for those fees for other people to pay. But it's a good question. They can pay online with an e-check. They just can't do it with a credit card. And they can't do it in person either. So the only way to pay with a credit card is online. And currently, we're not accepting ACH payments from businesses where they initiate a payment to us for taxes. That's something that I'm hoping we will be doing in the next system. So that'll just give them another layer or option of payment. So that's something to look forward to, hopefully, in Tyler.
thank you.
Councilmember Cottle, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Joined us at 6:33.
All right, getting close. Sales tax exemptions. Wasilla Municipal Code exemptions provides a list of 24 exemptions to the city's sales tax code. Some are required by state or federal statutes. Others mirror exemptions of other taxing jurisdictions around the state. I've highlighted a few that differ from neighboring cities, which include number 12, 15, 16, 18, and 24 that we're going to discuss further in a little bit. And then we can come back to these if you have questions. We can go over them if you'd like to, but we'll probably, those other ones are kind of ones we really can't change or wouldn't look to change, so.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Crafton?
All right, I know we're gonna talk about it in a moment, just because I'm looking at it at the second though. Number 18.
Mhm.
I believe pretty much everything in there exempted by state law. Was
So-
there something in there specific that you were like, this actually isn't covered that we wanted to or were considering changing?
Yeah, so healthcare services are provided by providers that are licensed by the state of Alaska. So our code basically says that any provider under Title VIII is eligible for human healthcare, which is an important distinction because veterinarians are in there. So we have basically said that, you know, not all Title VIII, but all but veterinarians or anybody that's not doing human would be, would qualify for the exemption. So there are other providers in Title VIII that provide human health care, but other codes such as maybe the city of Palmer's and others limit it even further, saying it's only medical doctor services, chiropractors, dentists, and they give a list of the ones that they want specifically. But dietitians, massage therapists, and others that are not necessarily in the mainstream medical field might be ones that you might not want to exempt, and other places don't exempt. So there is a little bit of room in there if you want to go through the list of the Title VIII provider under the state statutes, the different types of medical providers, and see if there's any in there that you don't want to exempt.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I have
Sure.
another question for you here. On page 12, slide number 12, I think it is. The maximum tax per transaction talks about sales rented over 1 month. The payment of rent in excess of $500 and for more than 1 month shall be treated as a separate transaction, making me think it's taxable. But when I look at page 28, it says,
Residential
page
rents.
29, number 15, where it says residential rentals for a term of 30 or more consecutive days.
That's correct. So
So,
all rentals are taxed in the city, except for residential rentals currently. So commercial rentals are taxed, short-term rentals are taxed, tangible personal property rentals are taxed.
Okay.
Only residential rental is exempt.
and that's all residential rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson?
So storage units, for instance, are taxed.
Those are taxable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're collecting tax on them?
We are. Mm-hmm, on the monthly charges. And we do have that caveat in the code, like I said, like you pointed out. So let's just say I pay for all 12 months of my storage rental at one time. That doesn't excuse, and it goes over $500. You don't get to have a cap. You prorate that for each month's rental and then it's taxed. So you wouldn't be able to lessen your tax liability by paying a larger amount at one time.
So an organization that is exempt from paying sales tax, for instance, a doctor, if he's renting his property, he or she or they are paying tax on the rental, but not paying tax on the service that they provide. Is that correct?
Yes, but for the business purpose, like if they're renting a place for their doctor's office, that would be, the commercial rental would be taxable. If they were renting a private residence, that would be not taxable currently under code.
Thank you.
Let's see. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that at the end here. So additionally, we exempt sales tax on sales made by a qualified nonprofit that are recognized by the IRS as a 501c3, C4, or C19 organization. So and then we also have sales tax exemption certificates or certain entities that qualify to apply for an exempt. These certain ones can apply for an exemption. We offer one for contractors, which costs $250. Owner builders can obtain one for $35. Wholesale manufacturing businesses and nonprofits for $10 each. The tax exemption certificates exempt qualifying purchases from taxation. The purpose of these exemptions for contractors, owner builders, and wholesale exemptions is to prevent items that are resold, consumed, or transformed into another new product from being taxed multiple times prior to the end sale to the consumer.
Madam Mayor, or
Sorry.
Deputy
Yep,
Mayor,
Councilmember
going
Johnson.
back to slide 30. So if you had a nonprofit which has, say, a coffee shop, the coffee that is sold then is non-taxed, is that
Exactly.
correct?
If the nonprofit sells anything in the city under this code, it's not taxed at this point.
Even though they're providing a service to the general public.
Mhm. Yep, and we're gonna talk a lot about that at the, we'll bring that up again, but yes, you're in the right ballpark. Anything that a nonprofit sells or services they provide are exempt under this code, this section.
Councilmember Graham.
And that's any nonprofit that is a C3,
C3,
C4,
yes,
C19. There are
exactly.
like 40 different types of nonprofits. Most would be subject to
Exactly,
taxation.
although I think the majority of them are probably fall under C3. C3 and 4 are most common, and then the 19s are mostly your veterans associations, so. But we have others, 6s, and there's some others like labor unions and different ones that are different numbers under the IRS code.
Veterans pays taxes.
Sales, no.
Yeah, a lot of your veterans organizations, there's quite a few things that are not taxed under this particular thing. So we'll talk more about that. Okay, buyers that are incorrectly charged sales tax may protest the tax within 60 days and may include incorrect assessments of tax rates, sales tax caps, sales tax on locations that are outside the city limits, or sales tax, exemption certificates that are not honored for some reason. 2 tips to reduce incorrect tax assessments are to provide sellers with tax lookup report, which is found on the website that's provided by the Alaska Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission. And also to use your ZIP+4 in your delivery and mailing addresses for products or services that you have delivered. These are tips that we also publish on our website under the sales tax exemption page. The reason for the +4 designation is when you are using a mailing address or zip code to determine the sales tax, the first thing they're looking at is the 99654 or 99687, which says it's in Wasilla. The tax work companies say Wasilla is taxable, so they're going to code it in being taxable. The +4 tells the system where in the map of the city are you located, and it'll tell you if you're inside or outside the boundaries, if that's the mechanism they're using to determine it. So it's the GIS portion that pinpoints the exact location of the address as in or outside of the boundary. If you don't have that, they're just going to capture Wasilla and you're going to get charged sales tax, even if the address is outside the city. The +4 will tell it it's outside the city, and therefore you won't have the sales tax. So on tell your friends if they're getting charged tax, or sometimes they're not even looking or paying attention. So it's just really a good rule of thumb to always put your +4 in on all your little apps and the payments and Google and all those things, so that it's correctly assessing the proper amount. The ARSSTC is looking at doing some addressing work with some of the bigger, with Avalara and others that are big taxware companies, to give them specific addresses to help eliminate or alleviate some of those incorrect tax assessments because of the zip without the 4. But usually when we find that people are being charged when they're outside the city, telling them to do that and change those settings usually makes it work. Not always, but a lot of times. And so if it doesn't work, then we try the other mechanism of sending this report, which we're going to go over next. If you go to this website that I'm referring to, the Alaska Tax Lookup, which is provided by the ARSTC, you can look up any address in the state and it will tell you where it is. If it's in a check, it's in the state, it's in the borough, it's in the city. It'll tell you exactly if there's any tax owed in which jurisdiction you're paying it to. It will also allow you on this side here, you can hit export and it will print out this report or bring it up. You can save it and provide it to anybody who's charging you sales tax. So you can let them know that, hey, this location's not in the city, or it is, and it's, validated. The tax rate is all, presented there. It also gives information to, sellers that are trying to find out if something's taxable or not. It gives them the rules of the tax caps and many other things about our code that they can search through to see if, particular transactions are exempt. So it's a very helpful thing, especially for businesses that are doing transactions, not just in Wasilla, but elsewhere as well. Are there any questions so far about exemptions? Okay. So options for change. So reasons for change we'll go over first. There are multiple things to consider when we think about changing the sales tax code. Consistency between local city codes to help businesses that operate across the boundaries throughout the borough, as well as the rest of the state. Clarity to make interpretation clear and concise. Fairness to equal or level the playing field for competing businesses within the city and businesses that compete with those outside of the city. And revenue to broaden the tax revenue sources, which is consistent with the council goals and initiatives to evaluate current and future tax revenue sources. So I've identified a few areas that are potential places that the code could be changed if the council feels like it's in the best interest of the city. The first one is kind of where Mr. Johnson was going, which was the 501c3s exempt. We could require that entities operating more than 20 hours would have to remit sales tax. That would put us consistent with what the city of Palmer does. It would make the codes consistent, and it would allow for the types of businesses that are competing against other businesses that have to collect the sales tax. It would put them on the same even playing field. That's one option if you wanted to go in that direction. We're not advocating for that, just trying to give options and understanding what doing something like that would do or not do. This would also allow for the smaller nonprofits that are not working, operating businesses necessarily. They would not have to remit, so you're not dealing with like your local booster club or, t-shirt sellers that are raising money for their cause or something like that. So it's one option. It is something that Palmer does because they have quite a few of these operations that do like the fair and other places that are 501c3s, and those revenues are important to that city. So it's just something to consider. Also the level playing field of keeping other businesses competitive. Another option is to tax all gaming regardless of the nonprofit status. So whether they're open for 20 hours or more, or just any nonprofit that sells gaming, you could, look at that being a rule. I do believe Palmer has some regulations like that too. I don't know if it's all, or if it's just, I think they might limit it to only gaming that's done at the state fairgrounds. But you guys could do whatever, you want, but it's something that has room for a change. Also, this section of code, back when we were looking at the specific rules for different particular businesses, this one, it was written a long time ago. And it was written, I think, mostly with pull tabs and bingo in mind. And the gaming options have expanded now and include like a state lottery and other forms of gambling. So that might be just something that we want to look at to see if there's other options for us to tax. Currently, any nonprofits that are selling any gaming on their own are not required to collect sales tax, but for-profit operators that sell on behalf of nonprofits, because you have to, if you're selling any kind of gaming, it has to go for the benefit of a nonprofit. But those for-profit ones are paying sales tax, so they are at an unfair, competitiveness, I guess, or advantage. The code makes it difficult to administer when some of these sales are, the way it's currently written, when some of these sales are made outside of the city. So like I said, bingo and pull tabs, they're all done here. But these other things like raffle tickets and, different things, some of the tickets might be sold here and some might be outside the city. But the way that the code is written, it makes it difficult for a business to be able to determine, or a nonprofit to be able to determine that. So those are things that we would want to look at if you want to change something like that. We could increase the sales tax cap. That's another room for change. I know that the McKinley Group study supported an increase without harm to local businesses. So that's something that could be considered. Like I said, the caps are varying throughout the state, so different amounts. Currently, that would also put us in line with the city of, Palmer if we made the caps the same. But it's just something that is possible. I do believe that the information that the McKinley study did offer was on the low side. I think it's going to be probably higher than that, but unfortunately the number would not be something that we can determine at this time. There's just a range, and I think her report and memo to you all was pretty clear about the range there. It was, quite a large range. So another thing to consider.
Didn't our tax cap used to be like $1,250? We've lowered it considerably over the years, haven't we?
As far as I know, the tax cap has been on the first $500 the entire time. The amount has changed because the rate changes. So it used to be $12, then it was $10 when it was 2%. Then it went to $12.50 when it's 2.5%. It was $15 when it was 3%, but it's always been on the first $500. So if we went to a different cap, you could cap it on the first 750, or you could cap it on the first 1,000, or you could cap it on, whatever you want. You just want to make sure that if you do look at raising that, we make sure that we do all the things we need to do, check with legal and all that stuff. But also that you don't raise it too high that it would hurt your local businesses and make them uncompetitive with businesses that are not in a taxing jurisdiction and having to collect tax. So there's different reasons for changing it or not changing it, or, then you got to decide how much. So there's lots of things to consider there. Any other questions? Tax on residential rentals. So as we discussed earlier, residential rentals are the only rentals that we don't tax. Other cities do tax them. City of Palmer does. So, it would be consistent with them. It'd still be subject to the tax cap. So if rentals were taxed currently, they would be subject to the current tax rate, which is our tax cap, which is $500. So no more than $1,250 on any 1 month. But obviously, if you're looking at those other changes, then that would affect these types of things as well. This was number 15 on the exemption list that we were talking about. So we could remove the credit for prompt pay when collecting businesses. Currently, like I said, the business that collects a sales tax is offered a 2% credit up to $100 every tax period. So that's for some businesses, $1,200 a month or $1,200 a year that they would take as a credit for them to collect our tax. The city of Palmer does not allow for a tax cap or a tax credit, and there are many others around the state that don't. There are many that do. So our code falls in line with, probably half of them. So that's a place that you could look for if you were wanting to make some changes.
Councilmember Schmidt?
Mhm.
Do you happen to have the figures on what the discount is on early pay?
What we collect currently for it,
No, the discount
the discount is 2% of the tax amount due.
for the year. How much total does that add up to?
It's on the next page.
Yeah, on the next, on the statistical page, yeah, I'll go over that for you, but yes, I did provide it for you, so we'll skip ahead just for a second. So currently in FY '25, we collected $183,000 in credit, or, we've given that credit away. And in the current year to date, it is $182,348, so it's gonna be real close when we get the last of the ARSTC payments posted. So that's one place that could be changed as well.
Councilmember Schmidt?
Do you think that's made an impact on people paying promptly?
I don't think that it really does. I think that the system calculates it for them. A lot of times before the automated system and when people were not filing online, a lot of times they wouldn't take the credit. Like they forget to take it. It was more difficult sometimes for some businesses to take it. But yeah, I mean, of course, if you're offered it, you're gonna take it, but I don't think that it would incentivize necessarily people to pay on time over a penalty that's, 5% or more. So I think those incentivize people to pay on time more, I think, than the credit does to pay on time. But it is something food for thought to consider. Businesses do not pay anything as far as property tax to be here. So really the only thing that they're paying is the $25 and obviously, staff to administer that tax collection, but I'm sure that's not their only duty. So, so that's definitely a place to consider. Let's see, what else? Changing the city licensing fee structure. So we have not had an increase since the licenses were instituted in 1993. So our tax license fee was $25 back then, and it's still $25. So that is something, other licenses, I believe the state is $50 for a year, $100 for 2. When the borough had theirs, it was $50 for 2 years. So we offer a annual only. I mean, I'm not a proponent of going less than that or more than that, because we have our sales tax accounts are tied to the licensing, and at the end of the calendar year, when they don't renew their license, even though they're supposed to tell us and close those accounts out, it causes a lot of problems if they don't. And I just see if we leave it as a 2-year license, we'll have even more of those uncertain accounts that don't close and just leave. So I would probably not recommend that, but I mean, certainly we could look at it and try it. But I think other places have had other problems. It would allow us to spend less time on the renewal procedures. But if we don't do them consistently, you're still going to have like the borough. I think when they did it, they had some that were, if you got it this year, it was good for the rest of this year and next year. So you're always going to have renewals. So that really wouldn't lessen the workload of the staff to do it. They would just cycle. So.
Councilmember Crackton?
Thank you. So I guess I'm trying to understand what you mean by changing it, because you're not advocating for increasing the cost or changing the time frame.
You could do any of those. I mean, you could change the fee structure to, you know, less frequently and do and, you know, like every 2 years. You could increase the fee. We could look at taxing, we'd have to touch with legal, but you could look into whether, we could do fees based on gross receipts, like a license fee. If your business does this kind of volume of sales, your license is $25 or $50. If you do this volume of sales, it's higher, you know, until you get to like your big, huge stores that would have a larger footprint, and then they would have a larger license fee. That's done in other places around the country. So we could look to see if Alaska law would support something like that. We'd have to check in with, there's just different things to think outside the box on, you know, our regular $25. Cause again, these are the only tax or only fee that some of these businesses are paying. So, I think a lot of times they're referred to, you know, you have to have a license fee that's, fees and taxes are not the same. And we don't want to have a fee that's really a tax. And so we have to kind of be careful with that. And that's why we should probably involve, you know, Holly or whomever to ask some of those questions if that's something you guys want to delve into.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't so much be about the fee, but to me, it's the time frame. I mean, one of the things that we discussed during, for instance, the land use development with Title 16 was the short-term rentals. I mean, those were a year, and then people were appealing them. And so what effectively ended up happening was people that got those permits couldn't even use them because of how much time they were being tied up. And so I think about how much time the city spends dealing with the permits. I mean, I get it. Most of these people, it should be, you know, you can go online, you click a couple buttons, you pay your fee, you move on. You know, that should be a majority of it. But it's the ones that don't do that start to become the time suck. And you would think it would become more efficient to offer a longer term business license that would be in the realm of 3 or 5 years. And it could even be based on what type of business you're offering. I mean, do we really need Fred Meyer and Walmart coming to us every single year applying for their business license? I mean, come on, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, you know?
Yeah.
So it changes things like that. There's a lot of moving parts there, but that's the idea or the question that I would ask is, would that be more beneficial to the city?
It could be, we could certainly look at it. For most of our businesses that are not those guys, the yearly contact is kind of good because a lot of information changes and people change and locations change and people don't do all the things they're supposed to do. Like I've got several businesses just that I've seen around town in the last couple of months that have changed locations and don't tell us they changed on their license. So if you looked up their license, they're still at their old location. And so then we end up having to contact them. Those are things that a lot of times they change on their renewal form and catch up because they see it and are asked to provide that information or verify the information that we have is correct. And they're like, oh, no, that's changed. Oh, that phone number's changed. Oh, this has changed. And so having that check-in yearly is beneficial because that information that we're using that is for those businesses is what helps us to collect the taxes when, say, they don't pay their tax form or they, you know, leave the city and because they haven't had to get a business license renewal in 5 years. If we stop getting those tax returns, then it can make some of those things kind of difficult because they just ghost us and don't tell us. So at least at a year, I know that we're going to cut them off and say, okay, they're not coming back or they're not responding or they're not here anymore. And we know we're not going to go further than a year when we don't know what they're doing. So that would be my only hesitation. But I understand the other side of it, what you're saying, and that we would potentially save time. So we can certainly look at those options or think about them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing was the changes to the current exemptions or exemption certificates, such as the contractor owner builder exemptions. And then we also kind of didn't catch all of the ones that I had mentioned or highlighted in our exemption forms. So exemptions on the Commission of Travel, that's one that, that we could also look at. Currently, we do not tax the commission of any sales. Let me skip back to it and see. what it says. Sales of air, train, boat, cruise line, or bus transportation, car rentals, accommodations, or admissions to entertainment venues where the service is provided outside the city, those are exempt, and the fees and commissions related to such sales. So if you were buying something online for a concert or whatever, airfare, well, it's not airfare because that's a whole other thing, but entertainment venues, that type of thing, those things are not taxable because they're not here, but the commission of the fee that somebody sells, that commission is not taxed either. So like your travel agencies, if you have a travel agency in town, they're selling all these things, they get a commission fee for doing this service for you, but those are not taxed. It would also be the same thing for like Expedia, which we're looking at now taxing with the changes that we just made last month. So if Expedia is charging a percentage of the fee for their service to do all these services for you, that fee is not going to be taxed because our code exempts it. So that's something to look at.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you. The part specifically I'm looking at here is what we'd consider the contractor, owner, builders, wholesale manufacturers, and nonprofit. Well, maybe we leave the nonprofit up. So contractors, owner, builders, wholesale manufacturers. When I look at the contractors, owner, builders, they're allowed to apply for an exemption so they don't have to pay a sales tax on every single individual transaction they make. So when they go buy the concrete, they buy the blocks, they buy the wood, every single item that they buy to build the house doesn't get taxed. That's essentially the exemption they're applying for, correct?
Correct. And they pay $250 for it. And
it's yearly, right?
It's yearly. And there's no caveat that the required, that the things that they're buying are for things inside the city. So there are a couple of things that, you could do with that exemption. You could eliminate it, which would then make all of their sales tax, when they make purchases, those sales would be taxed and subject to the tax cap. So if the cap was still $500, then the most any one of those things that's going to be charged is $12.50. If we raised it, then it would be whatever you guys would raise it to. If they didn't have that, I would, to prevent the double tax situation, then if you remove the exemption altogether and they just pay tax on all purchases, then you could put an exemption in that would exempt their services that they provide in the city from being taxed. So a consumer who hires a contractor to do a remodel would not pay any tax to that remodeler for their service or the product that's being done. But when the contractor goes and buys all the stuff for that project, they're going to pay sales tax full price or based on the cap at wherever they're buying all their stuff for. And it's just part of the cost of what they're going to be passing on to the consumer. And they would not pay any additional tax on that. So currently, there's a lot of, most of the stuff that's sold here is consumed outside the city and not done here. But that is exempted, but I don't know that the contractors are completely complying with what they're supposed to be reporting and remitting to us. And to audit that is probably not going to be super lucrative because of the tax cap. We're only talking about a handful of contractors doing a handful of jobs and it's $12.50. So we can spend a lot of time on compliance, but we're not going to spend a lot of time getting revenues from that. So it would be more, I guess, cost beneficial to exempt having to charge the consumer tax and the contractor reporting exemption and just have them pay the tax. But that would be more costly to a contractor to do it that way. So give and take.
I mean, the way I'm thinking about this is look at the amount of home builders out here and where do they buy their materials? Pretty much all of it comes from the city. I mean, you talk to our deputy administrator and she loves to tell the story about how successful Lowe's is. Lowe's was not, nobody thought that Lowe's would be as successful as it is, but then you realize that we don't serve 10,000 people, we serve 150,000 people.
Right.
And so I look at it and go, $20,000 in cabinets, $50,000 in lumber, you know, that's going to start. I mean, yes, $12.50, but think about how many individual transactions some of these contractors are making to put a home together. They're not going to just eat the cost. That cost gets passed on into the price of the home. That'd be an interesting one to look at. I'll just say that because I get where you're going for the smaller contractors, but when I think I look at this for the bigger people that are that would make the difference between, you know, that $12.50 starts adding up really, really fast for people. So.
And just so you know, too, I'm not.
I know you're not advocating
Yep, just
either
pointing
way.
them out,
That,
but
I'm just
yes,
putting it
you
out there.
are-
Like that's the thought that I go to when I look at this and go, oh, there's 139 people that have applied for that already. Plus the 3 owner builders. And then you look at the wholesalers and the manufacturers, because again, they're not wanting to pay sales tax on the stuff that they're wholesaling. Just basically they're just the through man to get the products along the way. So just an interesting bit to look at there. So thank you.
Okay, so we did the travel one. So also daycare, we currently do not tax any daycare services in the city. Other codes, local codes do. So another place for places, looking at things, as well as taxi ride shares. Some do, some don't, but the taxi ride shares, we don't currently tax, but with the changes we just made last month, your platforms like your Uber and your Lyft would then be collecting those taxes. So we have not in the past, due to difficulties trying to find them and then difficulties trying to collect on them. But if we had other mechanisms like those platforms to help us collect, then that might be a different conversation or a better outcome for the city. And then we talked a little bit about the narrowing of the medical healthcare providers. So that's kind of the group of tax exemptions that we discussed in the earlier slides. So those are the places that I had identified. Like I said, we're not necessarily advocating anything, just pointing out where there are places that can be changed and leaving it to you guys to decide what's best. And we're happy to answer questions about that and discuss it with you further. I've got the statistical information in here too to help you guys assist in your analysis of the different options that we've given you. And we're certainly open to any other, suggestions that may have or questions that you have.
Councilmember Graham?
Maureen, do you know what their budget expectations were for sales tax for 25 and 26?
Not
Know
off
those
the
numbers?
Yeah, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I know they're fairly close to that, but I'm sure Wendy probably can get that information for you.
Thank you.
Yes. Councilmember Crafton?
Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate the presentation here. I know some of these things, some of these changes were things I was already looking into. Like Mr. Johnson had brought up, I mean, to give you an example about the nonprofits is I went down to one here recently and there was a shirt that still had the tags on it from the original box store. I happened to own that shirt. Not only was the shirt cheaper at the thrift store, but had I purchased it there, I wouldn't have paid sales tax on it. And to me, it's like, how is that fair? To me, that's a pretty simple change we can make, and I like the fact that you're like, hey, let's put the 20 hours on it so we avoid hitting some of these really small school event, whatever. There's some very small niches in there that there's limits to put on there. So I really appreciate the information here again, and there's more in here than I had thought of, but also some things in here that I was like, okay, my thinking is not wrong along
yeah,
those
spot on.
lines. So I do appreciate this very, very good presentation. Thank you, Maureen.
Well, I thank you guys for all your time tonight, because I'm happy you're still awake. And with me. Sometimes when I get going on this stuff, people kind of gloss over and they're like, So it's good to have engagement from the council. Is there any other questions or?
Thank you, Maureen.
All right, thank you guys.
There are no items scheduled for public hearing this evening. We are now at persons to be heard. This is a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. Please note that this is not a question and answer period. Speakers may be referred to administration and items raised may be taken under advisement. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name, and if you are a city resident, comments are limited to 3 minutes. Concerns?
Good evening. My name is Tom Stearns. I'm the Senior Ambassador for the Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated. And I'm here to share with you all the great things that are happening at WASI. But the first one is that we're going to be closed on the 7th of September. If you can believe it, that's Labor Day, and we will be closed. But after Labor Day, we have some great things that are going to be happening. You, I hope, got one of these. That is our spring, our dance. It's going to be a 70s and 80s theme. And it's going to be part of our fall prevention program. And so we're going to teach you how to dance so you don't fall. And so that's a very good thing to have. Then the next thing that we have is our harvest fundraiser. Okay, we had that last year. It was a great success. We're going to have it again this year. $50 a plate for the brunch, and then we'll have all sorts of things to sell, auction off during that time. What we need you to do is read the back, and those are the things that we need right now. We need different things that you can donate so that we can have things to auction off. Especially the folks that make things. If you make things, those would be really good things that we could auction off for our raffles. And then the next thing is, of course, we have our lunch sponsorships each month for $400 for lunch, $500 for lunch and dessert, since we don't do desserts anymore. And then the next thing is, all of you are in the category, except Ms. Rubio. Well, maybe not all of you. All right. Some of you are in the category of being a senior, and we are looking for 3 board members, all right? And these board members, there are no incumbents. So if you're running, you have a very good chance of winning. And so we would like to encourage any of you that are interested to get a hold of our front desk, and they'll give you all the things you need to know. And then 17 September is our next board meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Dan Kennedy.
Greetings, Deputy Mayor Rubio. My name's Dan Kennedy. My address is 4701 East Shoreline Circle, Wasilla. I'm a non-resident, but I'm here this evening with my wife, Janet, to thank the city. But before I let you know why we're thanking the city, between Janet and myself, we've had 82 years as CPAs, and for decades, our CPA office was in the Lakeview Professional Building on Cruzy Street. And my efforts primarily with the CPA firm was economic development for some of our largest corporations around to emerging businesses. And as past president of the Greater Wasilla Chamber of Commerce, I've sat at this table to your colleagues before you, your predecessors, and went, your most valuable asset is the airport. Your most valuable asset is the airport. And Janet and I wish to thank the city, your predecessors, to the wonderful staff of your organization, to our local government, for all your work on the city airport. We're just thrilled with its expansion, and we want to encourage the city to maximize your revenues from your most valuable asset. And again, on behalf of Janet and myself, we want to thank the city so much for all your hard work. There were so many people involved. It was a team effort to get the airport moving towards expansion. And Deputy Mayor, that's all I have tonight. Thank you for allowing us to comment.
Thank you, Dan. We are now at the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the items for approval under the consent agenda by title.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. We have one introduction, scheduled public hearing for September 14th, 2026. Ordinance serial number 2616, amending the fiscal year 2027 budget by accepting and appropriating a United States Marshal Service short-term joint operation for sex offender compliance verification. And I'm wondering if we're missing the word grant, maybe not, in an amount not to exceed $16,275,000. We have two resolutions left on the consent agenda. The first is resolution serial number 2648, accepting a grant from the State of Alaska Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, State Emergency Operations Center After Hours Answering Point in the amount of $87,410. And lastly, resolution serial number 2649, accepting an enhanced 911 surcharge revenue DPS call taker grant from the Matanuska-Susitna Borough in the amount of $403,115. And I apologize, I'm suffering a cold.
It's okay. We'll make it through it.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved by Councilman Johnson.
Is there a second?
Seconded, Madam Deputy Mayor.
It has been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Crafton to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. We are now at unfinished business. Madam Clerk, please read the item by title.
Council, do you want to take the resolution we pulled first? Sure. Okay, we'll begin with resolution serial number 2647, approving a contract between the City of Wasilla and ClearGov Gravity for $43,903.25 in consideration for financial budgeting software.
Is there a motion to approve resolution number 26-47?
Madam Deputy Mayor, I move ordinance or resolution serial number 2647.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It has been moved by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Schmidt to approve the resolution number 26-47. Is there objection to the motion? Discussion, I'm sorry.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you. I remember I really liked this initially. And after the presentation, I wasn't 100% sold on it. I'm a little back and forth on this one. I'd be curious to hear maybe something from the administration, or what the other council members would have to say on this one.
Councilmember Johnson.
Madam Deputy Mayor and Council. When I heard about this, the details of it, I sort of understood the details of what it is that we're trying to get with this. And I looked at this as, well, it's a fairly expensive piece of software and it has all these bells and whistles, and it does have some advantages, and it's being recommended by the administration. So I'm not automatically opposed to it. However, when I went through the package and I saw the ongoing costs at $150,000, which is basically committing, essentially, not exactly, about $40,000 a year for continuing software and support costs in it. I'm going, what are our options? It looks to me like we were presented with this option. I have no other options on the table, and it's fairly expensive. This isn't a cheap program. I guess I would really rather have us come in and look at what some other options are, rather than just immediately spending this $44,000 up front and then committing another $150,000 beyond that, with no other options being laid on the table. So it's not that I'm against this, but I'd like to see more options being presented to us than just this. This is an expensive piece of software.
Madam Deputy Mayor, does our finance director have anything to add to that?
Sure, through the Deputy Mayor, can you?
Okay, go ahead.
I had talked to former finance director, Ted Leonard, before I came here, and we had discussed this program and its capabilities of being able to interact with our current finance package, the Tyler package. This package is able to interact, be able to update at any time with the current package that we have. One of the other pieces that Ted was very excited about is that it would cut down on at least 200 to 240 hours of my work. And so what that translated into was that I looked at our finance goals. So when I look at those goals, I looked at what would those cover? What would those take care of? Because those are our legislative priorities. So I saw in goal number 2, it would help complete the enterprise resource system and draw in those figures so that we would be able to communicate those effectively with our republic or with our public. It would organize resources and set up a centralized communication channel on our city's official website. It would also create and implement a communication and engagement plan to strengthen outreach and improve Wacilla's communication tools and network. And so with those in place, there's a little piece that it also does, that ClearGov does. When I look at ClearGov, I see that it continues or it completes all your goals 1 and communicates those to the public. Now, it doesn't necessarily complete the 2025-2045 comprehensive plan, but it will put that out onto our website and communicate that to individuals who may not quite understand what a comprehensive 25 to 45 plan is. Complete the Parks and Rec master plan, putting that out on the website as well. There are so many ways that this program can be placed out on our website and being able to do what they need to do. When I look at further down, implement the airport master plan by marketing efforts. We can use this program to do so, as well as implementing our one of the top 3 goals is the SEDS strategy. We can put it out to promote that as well. And one of the last ones, improve community connections to promote resident well-being and understanding our budget and how that impacts them. So then I looked at how does this free my time up? So most of you know that I was a city manager, so I was in charge of a city. I can tell you that in my past practice, I did all of goal 3. If I am freed up to do the finance part of it and get those parts taken care of and be able to function with that, I can do all number 3 for you with our department heads. Number 4, I can get that, all of these can get put on the website as well with ClearGov. Just interacting with our departments and getting these individually things done. I've worked with our departments for legislation and continue to do so. I don't know that, Eric, was that done before? I've been working with Lori, so that was also done before. Also, I did a little experiment. So I went to Copilot and ChatGPT, and I dropped our budget into it, the 2027 budget, just to see what we would get out of it. For those 2 packages, the reading came back that it was too large. So when we have people who are asking, make our, I want to see what's important to the city of Wasilla, but I want to put it into ChatGPT and figure that out for me, because I don't want to deal with that.
Okay.
When they come in and they say that that's too large, that's not helpful for our budget. So I went to another ChatGPT and did a Gemini. I went to Gemini, put that in. It said it was too large, and asked me to put the URL in. I put the URL in, asking for 2027, and got the numbers back. And I thought, that's really funny, because I know that the police budget was 9.7 million, not 9.3. And I look back, and Gemini has the last year's budget in there. So we're looking at even though these ChatGPTs and all these AIs are great, there's still errors in them that people have to still look and catch. And I really believe with this project, with this program, we can make that happen. And we can do these things and get these things done that were part of your fiscal goals that you set.
Madam Mayor, a follow-on question. Wendy, I agree with everything you said, okay? That wasn't my question, okay? The question is, we're committing to ClearGov, which is a software vendor. My son is a software provider for a different company who works out of Atlanta, okay? You are asking us to, on a single sole source bid, buy a piece of software for $44,000 with, I would like to have seen a competitive bid from possibly 1 or 2 other companies for the exact kind of source software. Now, you might still end up with ClearGov because it might still be the best solution. But I'll tell you right now, from my perspective, $44,000 a year is a lot of money to be spending into software on an uncompetitive bid. That's really what I would like to see. I would like to see you come back with 1 or 2 other vendors saying, these are what the vendors will do. We ranked these vendors based on their capability and we selected ClearGov. Okay, that's what I'd really like to see before you can really sell me on this vote. I agree with everything you say. We need to do all of those things. But I feel like we're not being given enough information to really make a large commitment like this.
Councilmember Schmidt?
Wendy, just a quick question, follow up on that. Did you use this program at the small town that you come from?
We did not. We were too small. Our budget was only 10 million. We did not use that.
Have you experienced any other programs, or did you just manually do it all with the programs that you had?
What I did is I went on the Matsu Borough and used their program and asked some really convoluted questions and didn't think it would be able to pull out what I was you know, what I was trying to get out of it, and I was able to pull that information.
Okay.
Councilmember Cottle, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I did a lot of research into this program, and being someone who's been in accounting and finance for years, this program to me checked the boxes. And I'm in favor of going ahead with this because it does what we're looking for it to do. And it will be, I think, a time-saving tool for us. And it will, in the long run, have a lot less human error because we're not having to pull information and put it back into numerous places where this program will put it all in there. So I'm in favor of this.
Thank you. Councilmember Graham?
Thank you. So, Wendy, I'm looking at page 20 of the ClearGov software proposal, which I think is attachment A to this ordinance that we have before us. But essentially it says, 9-month prorated cost was about $30,000. So 12 months would be, about what you see down below when it talks about what we would owe in July of 2027, which is, $40,000. Then it goes up 5% a year. Is that 5% increment? Is that pretty standard with software renewals and things like that? I mean, at this point, we've already kind of sunk a bunch of money into the setup of this, trying to figure out if it's going to do what it's going to do. But I mean, is that 5% a year? Is that a normal escalation factor, you think, or?
It is post-COVID. I would say yes,
Okay, thank you.
because people are really, it used to be 2 to 3%, but now that people or companies have experienced COVID, they do 5% just in case.
Wendy, I do have a question for you. I am in favor of this program, but does your department plan on implementing this software for this coming budget?
Yes,
So the time lead on that is good.
yes.
Okay. Councilmember Graham?
Thank you. And I too am in favor of this proposal here. ClearGov is one of those organizations that goes to the Alaska Municipal League annual conferences every year and gives us plenty of time to talk to them and talk to their competitors, or I wouldn't even say competitors, but people offering similar solutions, and each of those solutions is uniquely different. And I think that's why we have a sole source contract here, because we're looking for a specific solution with, specific results here. And so, while I'm not a big believer in sole source contracts in this case, to get, exactly what we're looking for, as close to what we're looking for as possible, I think sole source is the only way to go. So I'm in favor of this action here tonight.
Councilmember Crafton?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I guess just kind of a blunt question. Do you believe this would be the best option at the best price that we have available for us?
I believe so.
And I'd say yes.
Is there further discussion? Is there objection to the motion?
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Council, this is on the adoption of resolution serial number 2647. Councilmember Cottle, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Yes.
Councilmember Crafton.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
No.
Deputy Mayor Rubio.
Yes.
The motion to adopt resolution serial number 2647 passes with council members Cottle, Graham, Schmidt, Crafton, and Rubio in support. Councilmember Johnson opposed.
Ready?
Next resolution is resolution serial number 2646, approving priority transportation projects for nomination to the Mat-Su Valley Planning for Transportation 2027 through 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, affirming the city's commitment to provide the required non-federal share for projects selected for federal funding and authorizing their submittal to the MVP.
Madam Deputy Mayor, can we take a 5-minute recess before we dive into this one?
Yes. So it's 7:39, so we will be back at 7:44. Sorry. I'm not worried. You forgot where I
Discussion.
The mayor's gone.
We're back on the record at 7:45. Is there discussion?
Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you. Appreciate the council for giving us a little bit more time to look this over. I had spoken with the mayor's gone.
We're back on the record at 7:45. Is there discussion?
I'd asked the attorney just one question. I had two concerns with this, but the big one I wanted to ask was just a clarifying point around some of the whereas clauses, because part of the way it reads is that it sounds like we're being bound to certain dollar amounts, because we're saying, hey, we're going to commit these projects, and these projects come with a cost. And so we're gonna be putting forward those dollars. And so I just wanted to clarify with the attorney that's not the case, because that's not possible.
Yeah, no, it's not binding, and there's two reasons. And one, I'm glad you asked me before the meeting so I could, look through and process this. But with the Matsu planning group here, it's not binding in itself. This is just saying this is a priority. We have an idea it's going to cost around this, and there's going to be a contribution. But these are just estimates. Whenever it gets federally funded, those numbers are likely to change. Then you have to go through the whole contracting process and approve contracts as it goes along. This is just kind of saying, we're going through this with the knowledge we may have to pay that portion. And I don't know whether that's required under the federal law or that's just strictly the Matsu requirement, so no one can come in and say, oh yeah, we wanted that really big project, but now that you tell us we have to pay part of it, we're not interested. Second part of it is in the whereas clause, it's certainly not binding. Whereas is just saying this is conditions today. Whereas crime is out of control. I'm binding either crime will stay out of control. It's just saying this is why we are doing this. And if the feds were to change it and not require any kind of matching funds, we're not obligated to it either at that point. So it's just really kind of cities acknowledging it, knows that if the project goes ahead, it's going to have to be looking for funding for part of the project as the rules stand today in the warehouse clause.
Thank you. Another question I have, not to the attorney here, but just I really like a lot of these projects. I really only have one project that's a bit concerned on moving forward, and I know we've got I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Kim here. Could we have her come forward? I'm just curious about project that would be considered ID number 19. It's the Seward Meridian Parkway to Sun Mountain connection. Could we have somebody speak to what it would look like if we move forward a project like this that has no platted right of way, especially because it's a high priority. There's another one on here, but it's down the road. So I mean, that one can completely change, but we're committing to trying to move forward a project that has no right of way right now, which it to me is concerning.
Yeah, through Deputy Mayor Rubio, I can answer that. So the idea, like we talked about at the last meeting, was the stream impact that the Alpine connection at Parks and Sun Mountain has for safety concerns. So the idea would be to find a right of way that works with all of the landowners at the end of Sun Mountain. It could be multiple things. It could be purchasing some land from either one of the property owners at the end of the cul-de-sac and getting down to Seward Meridian. It could be buying a home in Whispering Woods neighborhood and making a thoroughfare into the Whispering Woods neighborhood. There needs to be some sort of connection between Sun Mountain and another thoroughfare that allows for a safe transition if people are trying to go left or inbound on the parks. And so the ultimate alignment doesn't exist right now, of course, because all of the options need to be evaluated, but the request needed a line on a map, so we drew one. But the ultimate way to mitigate some of those major safety concerns is to give people a safe and convenient way so that they don't choose unsafe turning movements to get back onto the parks to go inbound to Anchorage. So this project would allow for the initial planning and then moving into the design to make that connection to reduce those accident-prone intersections.
Councilmember Graham?
Thank you. So I'm looking at the last paragraph on page 121 here. It says MVP is requested that each member jurisdiction adopt a resolution formally nominating its priority projects. How did these become priority projects? This is the first time we, as a city council, have heard of some of these projects. So how did these become priority projects out of that list of projects that we saw 30 or 40 deep? How did these become the city's priority projects? I mean, is this just a list that the mayor and Eric came up with? What makes these priority projects? Because some of these look pretty milquetoast to me. I mean, they're.
Hi, Kim Solian, Executive Director of Matson Valley Planning for Transportation. I'll answer a portion of that question and then I'll defer to Eric. So as a metropolitan planning organization, we're supposed to create a process by which local governments can apply for projects. Those projects need to be evaluated on a metrics that looks at, we establish goals for our long-range plan, and then we establish criteria to evaluate projects on whether or not they would help us meet the goals that we established for the long-range plan. And so once we figured that piece out after we assessed the transportation network and identified deficiencies and needs, we did a call for projects. So if you remember, I was here in January and let you know that we were issuing our formal call for projects. There would be a 30-day nomination window and that we were requesting local jurisdictions apply for projects. So I let you all know about that process. It was on our website and it had the project nomination form. And then during that 30-day window, the city of Palmer, the Mat-Su Borough, and the city of Wasilla did nominate a number of projects. And I will pause there. Well, I guess I'll say one more thing. So once we received all of the nominations, we vetted each project to make sure they were eligible for federal funding. And then we went about applying the scoring criteria to each project and then assigning a score to each project. And then that's what the numeric order is that you see in your resolution in terms of what score each project received.
Yeah, and I understand that process, but I'm just curious, how did these become our, when I say our, I mean the city of Wasilla's priority projects? I mean, one of these projects here is to build a sidewalk from a senior community to connect, to a bike path, which is rarely used. I'm just kind of curious, how did these things become priority projects?
Thank you, through the deputy mayor. So knowing what the scoring criteria were for the MVP's review and looking at the needs as we received from public comments and from known projects, we balanced what we thought would be eligible through that program versus our larger list of needs that we know about, from repaving to completing projects. We knew that the pedestrian connections would compete very well numerically. As we saw, we had the #1 place because of that. If you recall, the Elkhorn project that you're talking about, that came directly out of public comments from Mr. Don Shishel that came in and talked about that. He'd also called and some other neighborhood members called. So these projects that were brought to us community-wise played well into the numbers. And then the long-term ones that we talked about with the connection to the Sun Mountain to Stewart Meridian, that's been a long-standing issue that we've been coordinating with the borough on, and then the police department with a number of accidents. And then as we've gone through the railroad relationships with like Snyder Crossing and then some other known gaps in our infrastructure, that's where the, what are we calling it? The Railroad Avenue to, I forget the name of the other street. The fourth project that's on the list, those came from being long-term plans that we needed help with, and then the short-term pedestrian connections. So in general, I built the list, vetted it through the mayor, and picked the ones that would compete well numerically. And that's how the list came out this round. Now, one of the things that we've been working through with the MPO is the Borough Assembly has echoed some of the concerns that you've had, where they didn't feel like they had an opportunity to review the list either. And so at the technical committee and the policy board meeting, we talked about that, and there's going to be some tweaks on the timeline so that elected officials such as yourself see a more official review before the resolutions of support are asked for. And maybe, Kim, you could talk a little bit about kind of the feedback we've gotten at the last couple meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. We did hear, like Eric said, from, Matt Subaro's staff, that when I presented this same presentation to the assembly, that some of the assembly members had never seen the list before. So moving forward, we are going to develop a policy that requires, prior to project nomination in the future, that local city councils and the Matt Subaro Assembly have a chance to review what staff are recommending to move forward and have a process so that when projects are nominated, it has already gone through an initial review from the local governing bodies. And that's just one of the things we're going to put in place to help prevent any surprises when we get to this phase, because where we are now is in order to program our TIP and decide where the funding is going to go, we need that approval from the local government. So we need to document that there is that the projects are being formally nominated by the local jurisdiction in our TIP. That's one of the federal requirements, and that we can show that there's the funds are reasonably available. So that's the two things that your resolution is doing. Say, we agree that these are the projects that we would like to nominate, and if the project is selected for funding, that will commit the match. So that's part of our documentation to federal highways.
Councilmember Graham?
Thanks. So, the committing to the federal match, is not something the administration could do. It's something that the council has to provide funding for. So in future, and this is a 5-year project, 3-year, 4-year project. So, a future council may say, I don't want to spend $500,000 on this project. We need to spend $500,000 on a different project. So the council may say, no, we're not going to do that project. And how does that affect the process?
That's a great question. Sorry, I forgot my protocol through the deputy mayor to Councilmember Graham. So projects have either a 4 or a 6-year lifespan, with some exceptions. So one of the jobs that staff have is to figure out, with our limited funding, we'll have about $7 million a year to program. We'll have to decide which projects go first, second, third, and when their start year happens and when their construction year happens. So if we program some of the City of Wasilla's projects in the first year, very soon, probably early, January, February, March, the DOT will come forward and be looking to work with you on match and maintenance agreements. So if that number one project is going forward, whoever the body is at that time will be committing to paying the match and maintaining the project over its lifespan. If at that time you decide we don't want to do that project, then you would say that, and then we would amend our TIP and remove that project. It would no longer be eligible for funding. So we anticipate having to update our TIP probably annually, maybe a couple times a year, hopefully not to remove the projects that have been prioritized, but that is certainly how we would handle that.
And so the overall amount, that $7 million a year, would remain unchanged. It's just up to the board to figure out what new priorities would be with a project if it's not approved by the local governing body?
So if, so the federal highway funding bill does change every 4 years and we don't have a new one yet. So we could get more funding, but 7 million is what we're working with now. And that's what we're using to program our current tip. So if we program our tip and let's say 2 of the City of Wasilla projects go forward, and they are proposing to start in year 1 and be constructed in year 4, we would be having that conversation this coming year about your commitment. And then if another one of your projects is going forward in year 3 and construction wouldn't start until the future tip, we'd be having that conversation in year 3. So you will get another bite at the apple, so to speak, to affirm that you do want to move forward with this project. But our assumption is if you're putting the projects in your resolution, that's giving us the go-ahead to program that tip. And when we come back or when the DOT comes back to you for those match and maintenance agreements, you've committed to that. But there is an escape clause if the future council decides they need that. I will say, once we start spending federal money, if you change your mind and decide you no longer want to do the project, you will have to pay the money back. So that's.
So 2 follow-ups on that. So at the last meeting, I had asked for something kind of showing what these projects were. And I got, for tonight's meeting, I got the same map that we got at the last time we talked about this. Is there a website that shows the conceptual plan for this? I mean, how many feet of sidewalk are we building? Where exactly is that sidewalk going to go? What right of way are we concerned about? I mean, not, I don't want to see an 8-page, a blueprint of what's going on here, but I would like to know where these things are going. What is the proposed route, to get, the project that we were talking about, the sewer meridian project? Where's this Elkhorn sidewalk going? Those sorts of things. Is there a website that I can look at? I know with DOT projects, I can go and look at the DOT, couplet project and shows me all sorts of stuff and has for years. I mean, is there a similar method for getting into these MVP projects?
That's a great question through the Deputy Mayor to Councilmember Graham. Not yet, because the projects aren't official projects. So once the TIP gets programmed and the TIP gets approved, the DOT has a multi-phase process to developing a project. And the first phase is doing that the environmental review, right-of-way research and acquisition phase and documentation, the planning level design, and then once they get those pieces updated, then you will have that fuller picture of what the project is, where is the exact alignment, what the cost is proposed to be. So that's part of the first phase of project development. So because these projects were just nominated to us, we took the information that was provided by the nominators, and then DOT used that information to develop planning level cost estimates to give you a rough amount of what we think the project will cost and what the match will be. But those other details about exact design, how much right of way, where the sidewalk is, would come during that first phase of the project.
Councilmember Graham, can you hold your thought just for a second? Councilmember Cottle, are you on?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, I'm on.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Graham.
So this, I think, comes back to what Mr. Crafton was talking about. So we approve these projects tonight. We say, yeah, put these on the list, and then DOT comes forward, or whomever comes forward and says, all right, let's start planning this. And they start planning this projects, and we look at each other and go, there is no way in hell we're going to sign up for that project. So at that point, we're committed to paying the federal government back for the money that DOT has spent on the planning process, even though we didn't know what the project was to begin with.
I don't know if you have, so back me up if you can, Eric. So I think the short answer is yes. Like, we have to go through the planning process to document all the details of the project. Like, I think each of the projects has a description. I'm sure Eric we could provide you the applications that they submitted that were very detailed with the information that they have now, but project development research happens with every single project. So the difference is you're using 90% of federal funds to do that instead of 100% of your own funds. And so, I don't know who.
So the short answer is yes, we would be on the hook for.
Paying the federal funds that get spent on that phase one of the project. Yes, that's a federal requirement.
Okay.
Councilmember Crafton?
Thank you. I think that kind of justifies some of my point here. So there's a couple things I have. Again, I'm going to go back to kind of what Mr. Graham's saying here is by nominating these projects, we're almost committing these dollars up front. I mean, if federal dollars are going to be spent, then because a lot of it's the design phase. The biggest part is once they get to a design phase, then we're committing. And I can understand that maybe before they even get to the design phase, they're going to come to us and say, hey, this is the project we're going to start working on next. We're going to get into the design phase. We need to know that there's a commitment from the council before we start expending dollars on it. I'd assume that's going to hopefully happen first. But when we submit that list, the list should be a list of projects that we know we can stand by. And Project 19 here, the Seward Meridian, the Sun Mountain one is, I don't think one we can stand by, because when we look at already what's happening in this corridor, there's two other projects that should address a lot of the concerns that have already been brought up about this connection here. And one of that is the redesign of the median down the middle turn lane. And then the other one is hopefully the Herman Road, and help with the efficiency of traffic flow through both of these areas here. And so I'm really struggling committing to knowing that this project's going to be done, because I mean, I've looked at a map. There's two property owners that you would have to go through to get this road, Sun Mountain, connected to Seward Meridian. And one of those property owners is a very large chunk of their property. I'm just not seeing a feasible way that we could achieve it at this time. I mean, to me, it's too early to try and nominate a project like this to go forward. So with that, Madam Deputy Mayor, I move that we strike project ID 19, which is project name South Seward Meridian Parkway to East Sun Mountain Avenue Connection Project from the resolution, which actually, excuse me, we'd be striking it from Exhibit A.
Is there a second?
Graham seconds.
You want to read that back into the record?
It's been moved by Councilmember Crafton, seconded by Councilmember Graham to strike from Exhibit A, project number 19, which is the South Seward Meridian Parkway to East Sun Mountain Avenue Connection Project.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you. Just to finish speaking my motion here, again, I think it's too big of a project too soon. As I mentioned, the state is in the design phase for a middle turn lane adjustment on the Parks Highway right now, which one of the biggest concerns is getting the left-hand turn lane off of Sun Mountain, which is technically, I think it's Alpine, and there are auxiliary connections to the Parks Highway. And essentially, it's that corridor is about to go through a major redirectioning with that project, and coupling with the Herman Road extension that's happening as well. So I think at one point in time, yes, the Seward Meridian would have been a great idea to connect through. I think there was even intentions to connect it down to Seward Meridian and put a roundabout there to connect to I think it's the Blue Lupine frontage road. And just that whole area, start putting in some roundabouts, make things a little bit more interconnected there. But at this time, I think it's not a project in the next 4 years. It should be a project in a further, I think, 6+ year time frame at this time.
Eric, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Okay.
comment on the two projects that Mr. Crafton talked about. I'm intimately familiar with both of them, and while they're important, they're not the panacea to the problems there. And we're going to continue to have extreme safety issues even after those projects are figured out because of the number of people that use that area and the traffic alignment. So I understand what Mr. Crafton is saying, is concerned about right of way. I guess I just want to caution the council that as we enter the world of being part of the MPO, there are going to be significant projects that have to be decided on, and these are decade-long thought processes that have to happen. So they're not little small road extensions. Herman Road is a teeny project compared to what the rest of the MPO projects are going to be. And while this is a huge project for the city of Wasilla, it is small on the side of MPO size projects. So I would ask the council as we go forward in the years on interacting with the MPO, the projects that are going to come before you are going to be drastic because of how far behind we are in safe transportation projects in the valley. We know how many people died on KGB when Governor Walker stopped the project before Dunleavy started again. We're talking about multiple people dying each year on different roads because of how far we are behind in safe transportation corridors. So these are going to be really important, and they're going to touch major improvements. They're going to have new right-of-way that has to be purchased. They're going to have detailed traffic studies. They're not going to be done in little myopic projects anymore. They're going to be very big with all of the standard transportation design that's required for federal projects. So very well vetted, very public facing, but also they're going to be of a new caliber that we haven't had to deal with before. We've waited for the couplet project for 15 years, right? So that is a great example of a project that took far, far, far too long. Our whole downtown has not been redeveloped because property owners have been waiting for a decade too long to have a project completed. The MPO exists, so that doesn't happen anymore. That project did not go anywhere because the MPO didn't exist to push these long-awaited projects and make major safety improvements. So I appreciate if Mr. Crafton wants to wait on this. We have 3 other projects that we desperately need, but this is going to be a new relationship to transportation projects from now on.
Councilmember Graham?
Thank you. Just for clarification, Eric, you said you'd appreciate if Mr. Crafton wanted to wait on that. Are you asking him to change his motion, or what?
No,
What did that statement mean?
I understand that it feels too drastic. I think that connection is going to happen whether Herman Road is completed in the next 3 years and whenever the Parks Highway turn lane project happens. They don't negate what needs to happen with that corridor for safety.
Okay, thank you. And then my question, Madam Deputy Mayor, or actually the comment, Madam Deputy Mayor, has to do with exactly what Kim was talking about, exactly what Eric was talking about, and exactly what Ian was talking about. So we look at Project 19, which is the one that we're looking at now. You know, total cost estimate of $6.5 million. Okay. I would be willing to bet that $4 million of that money will be spent before any utility is moved or before any shovel of dirt is turned. And what Kim has told us is if we get to that point on what is now a pie in the sky, totally unknown project, well, we're on the hook for $4 million, and for which we get nothing, and for which we have had no say in because we haven't seen anything on this. So I'm going to stand with Councilmember Crafton on this and vote to strike Project ID 19.
May I, and maybe with the attorney, that's not what this resolution says. So, you know.
What's the motion on the floor? The motion on the floor
Correct.
is to strike.
But this
19.
resolution does not say you're on the hook. So if you are on the hook, probably moving forward, we need to change the verbiage in the resolution.
Madam Deputy
Just
Mayor.
throwing it out there.
I see where, Madam Clerk, you're trying to say, like I said, what should come before us? the next thing, like we approved this tonight, the next thing that should come before us theoretically is a resolution from the administration, because Kim has said, hey, we've got the federal funding, the dollars are coming down, and project number one, we have the number one project. They want to start the design process. Council, we need to know you have a buy-in and that you're willing to, because they want to start spending money, but we have to know that you're going to be willing to commit to these dollars before they start spending the money. That's my understanding as to more or less what should be happening next. But I think what the bigger picture I look at is it tends to be how the council and the administration operate as a whole. When things are put before us in this fashion, people go, oh, well, we already agreed to doing this, so we're just going to do it. And to me, that's the bigger concern, is that just because the project's before us doesn't mean we should do it. And what it goes a step further into for me is our roads master plan. We're 20 years, I think 19 years out of date on a roads master plan. We have roads that were projected to be built that still haven't been built to this day and now won't be able to be built. And these projects have come, like Eric said, from basically just a list of things that needed to be done that were really important. But the next time that this list comes forward, it's going to be based on a list of projects that the roads master plan has already told us that probably need to be done. And we're going to look through it and go, yeah, we don't care about this one. We do care about this one. This one can wait a little bit longer. But and so that's really where the formulation is going to come. But I think what we need to be looking at now is the fact that what we put forward, we're willing to commit those dollars to, because there's a good chance that whether it's us sitting here or somebody else sitting here, that they're going to be committing those dollars to it. So I want to make sure that that's what we're going to be working towards.
Through the mayor, to speak towards the next step in the process, if this passes tonight, there will be a reimbursable agreement that comes in front of the council to codify with the state what the funding agreement is. So that'll be the next opportunity for a go or no go vote. There's no monies promised in this resolution. It's just, it kind of speaks to a larger idea. When we go and apply for grants, they're going to say, well, you need to have some match. We go and apply for grants without council approval because the mayor is the city manager and says, go apply for the grant. But we also want to know that there's support moving forward. So this, as we talked about what's going to change the next time we see this with more initial outreach with elected bodies, we still do go out for grants and then ask the council's approval, and grants have been not approved for that same reason. So this is really just a grant application, and then we'll be back to talk about funding if we're selected.
Is there further discussion? Is there objection to the motion?
Amendment.
What's that?
We're on the amendment.
Oh, we're still on the amendment. Yeah.
Correct. It's
Is
still
there
a motion.
objection to the motion?
Yeah.
Madam Deputy Mayor, I object.
I object.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay, thank you. And this is on what I'm going to call amendment number 1. And this is the proposal was to strike, the motion was to strike project number 19 from Exhibit A. Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Yes to strike it. Councilmember Schmidt.
No.
Councilmember Crafton.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
No.
Councilmember Rubio.
No.
Councilmember Cottle.
No.
Amendment number 1 fails with council members Graham and Crafton in favor, council members Cottle, Schmidt, Johnson, and Rubio opposed.
So now we are back to
To the main motion, which is to adopt resolution serial number 2646 as presented.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you. I won't be supporting this. I think we're committing the city to too much. I mean, what you're looking at now is, especially project number 19 was heavily based on right of way. And I mean, the only step forward would be to say, hey, we want to enter design. We say yes, they start designing. We've committed dollars. We can't get right of way. The only option is eminent domain at that point. I mean, you're committing the city to a lot of money to a project that has no platted right of way. So I'm a no vote on this entire project.
Councilmember Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So from what I understand from this, if we do not approve this at this particular point, basically, we stand to lose any federal money basically for these projects because of the time frame that we've got. From what I understood from your conversation is we either move forward by September or we can kiss most of our federal money goodbye. Now, is that pretty much it?
Through the Deputy Mayor to Councilmember Johnson. So we have asked the Matsu Borough, the City of Palmer, and yourselves for a resolution nominating your projects and that you want to prioritize and agreeing to pay the match. We have given a date of September 1st to all the municipalities because we need time to program our TIP. So once we receive the resolutions and we figure out what projects have been nominated by the local jurisdictions, we'll go about programming our TIP. So we anticipate having the draft TIP completed for our technical committee and policy board in October. It would go for public comment in November and then be approved in December and submitted to federal highways. If you do not approve a resolution in the very short term, we will not program any projects for the city of Wasilla. So right now, as our current short-term metropolitan transportation plan list looks, we have priorities from the city of Palmer and the Matsu Borough. So the city of Palmer is asking for 7.5 million in the short term. The city of Wasilla's projects total 14.8 million, and the Matsu Borough's projects total 56.4 million. So their projects span beyond the current TIP. And I share this because they have applied for a lot more projects and I just want to I don't want you to miss your opportunity for the next 12 or 15 years to access some of this funding because the borough has applied for a lot. So I'm not trying to pit the borough against the city, but we've tried to allocate a share based on population and the application, the projects that were applied for. And that's, yeah. If you don't pass a resolution, we won't program your projects potentially for a couple cycles.
So in response, I mean, I don't like the list in front of me, okay? I'll be perfectly honest there. On the other hand, I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot by saying, yeah, I don't like this or I don't like that, or, you know, if I have a shot at federal money. Realizing that I still don't have a commitment for the funds and I can still at the later time when the resolution comes through say no. So while I don't like to do this, I sort of feel exactly in the same position we did with the software vote just a few minutes ago. This is being forced down my throat. In this particular case, I will support it because I don't want to lose the federal funding, but I'm not really a happy camper.
May I
Yes.
add a comment? I'm so sorry. So we're in this unfortunate time frame right now with approving our long-range metropolitan transportation plan and developing our TIP at the same time. Because we're a new MPO and the federal guidelines say within 4 years of designation, you have to finalize these two plans and start spending the federal dollars that are sub-allocated to your region. So in the future, there won't be this pressure that you have 1 week to make a decision or 3 weeks to make a decision. We will update our MTP every 5 years. We're going to start on that in 2 years again to do another update. We will update our TIP again with amendments probably annually, but we will redo our TIP every 4 years because we know priorities change and project interests change. There would normally be a year between TIP programming and MTP finalization so that there isn't this time pressure. But because we're a new organization and we're trying to meet the federal deadline of finalizing our documents by December, that's why there's this condensed timeline.
Councilmember Schmidt.
So I'm in favor of this, and I think anyone that looks at it can say, hey, there's, 15,000 or $1 million here on the board, and we're only looking at approximately 8-9% to take care of in our city. And as we all know how much tight money is here in the city, we were just talking about taxes earlier. We don't want to keep on raising and raising and raising. If we had to play for just one of these projects, is more than doing the total of them with the 90% help from the government on this. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
Councilmember, Crafton.
Thank you. I mean, what I'm hearing is it's just a few years that we're missing out on, because all we're doing is missing this round of projects. It doesn't stop us from getting federal funding. It's just these specific projects. I mean, again, I think of the future bind that we're going to potentially be in when these projects come back and they say, hey, we need to work on getting this. And we say, sure, go for it. And then we turn around and find out that this project's a lot more than what we were expecting. And now we're bound to those dollars. So I still stand by voting no on this project.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you. First, I suppose I should commend the administration, which would be Eric mostly, for allowing the MPO to kind of tell you what the test answers were before you took the test. You said these are the priorities, this is what gets the heaviest weight, and so on and so forth. And then obviously from the numbering of the projects, you did very well. I mean, our lowest ranked project is number 19, so you've done very well for, seeing what is going to float through the planning organization, which is good. But what, is missing, is our roads master plan. Where does this fit in? And for this particular resolution, it doesn't fit in at all, but it's kind of the best that we have at present. And although I really think, project number 19 is like throwing spaghetti at the wall at this point. I mean, it's just a jumble of stuff there. The other projects, are far enough out, or far enough down the line where I think I can support these and come back. It's great leveraging of the federal funds that are there, and by the time we get to those two big projects at the end of the list, we will have had time to talk about them, and hopefully by then we'll have a roads master plan and be able to dovetail them together. But this one is not ideal, but it is workable. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call vote?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Schmidt, this is on the adoption of resolution serial number 2646.
Approve.
Councilmember Crafton.
No.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Rubio.
Yes.
Councilmember Cottle.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
The motion to adopt resolution serial number 2646 passes with council members Cottle, Graham, Schmidt, Johnson, and Rubio in support. Councilmember Crafton opposed.
We are now at communications. Madam Clerk, please read the items by title.
Thank you. Item number 2610, monthly financial reports for the period ending April 30th, 2026. Item number 2611, monthly financial reports for the period ending May 31st, 2026. Two sets of planning commission meeting minutes, July 14th and July 28th, 2026.
We are now at audience comments, which is a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under the advisement of the council or administration. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name, and if you are a city resident, comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor Rubio and council members. For the record, my name is David Wilson. I'm a city resident. I just wanted to share a brief little story I've shared with the police chief. We ran into a resident over the weekend who was telling me about a situation with a law enforcement officer. They were in medical distress, and short story of the matter, I was hoping that she would be here today, but I think it's raining and didn't want to wheel the wheelchair down here. But the police officer, Rice, it was, came and really lended aid to this elderly lady and helped her get her wheelchair back into her place after she was carted off to the hospital. She came back to that surprise and didn't really want to trust an officer, but she said Officer Rice had the kindest eyes she's ever seen and really made it a pleasant experience. And now she has more faith into law enforcement. She looks forward to more interactions, positive interactions with Wasilla PD. So I just want to say you guys have a fine Wasilla PD. You're doing great service. And I know that you guys don't always get those compliments and stories back. And so she just wanted to make sure that the public knew about what he did and that she wanted to honor him. And she was like, oh, we need to have the press come because I guess he's out of town. And so when he gets back to the airport, when we do this whole hurrah for him. And I was like, whoa, why don't you start with council first and let them know that what a wonderful job that he did on in serving and protecting our residents. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more, we are on. We are now at mayor, clerk, attorney, and council comments. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. And I think I'll just echo onto that. I didn't ever say it publicly, but I got hit by a teen driver in the Target parking lot, which is why I'm driving a rental. It was my first interaction with the Wasilla Police Department. He didn't know me. I, of course, never identify myself as a city official. He was professional. He was kind. I couldn't have been a better experience. And I had shared that with the chief. So kudos to WPD. Our election is progressing. We have our review board, which will meet here on Thursday to test the ballot tabulators that'll be used in the election. If you want to vote by mail, deadline is 5 p.m. September 29th to get that application into the clerk's office. And then early in-person voting will take place here at City Hall, September 21st through October 5th. We have weekdays 9 to 5 and Saturdays 10 to 3. And we will see you all here next regular meeting, September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. No comments. Great run meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to be traveling to the lower 48 for the first 3 weeks of September. I will endeavor to call in on the 14th so we can have a quorum. Other than that, I don't really have any comments.
Councilmember Cottle?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Good meeting tonight. I want to thank Maureen for all of her work on this presentation for the sales tax options for us. Gives us a lot of things to think about. I also just want to make a comment that I appreciate the staff status update report from administration. I think it's good to get these updates, and it just gives a lot more transparency to what's going on for the council and keeps us in touch with the administration, and I just appreciate that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson? Oh, it's on here twice. Councilmember Graham. Oh, Graham.
That other old
Flip
guy.
of the, I don't know, we're going Graham.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, first I wanted to, thank Maureen. That was a very interesting presentation. Lots of information out there. A lot of questions answered that the council has asked over the years and has never really been addressed as a bundle. So that was a very good thing. I really appreciate it, as well as all the staff work on a variety of things. I did mention to the chief and to Lori, from MAPCOM, that the borough is now in public meetings saying that there's going to be a new MAPCOM near Tate and Bogard Road associated with a new fire station. I'd be interested in finding out more about that, but since it's already 8:30, maybe we can do that at a future meeting. If this is just the borough's pie in the sky idea. It'd be nice to know that, but I'm really curious why they would be saying that that's the way things are gonna be if the city hasn't signed off on that. You know, MatCom is a city issue and it's a city function, and it's interesting to know how, would be interesting to know how the borough plans to take that over and just move it without telling anything about it. Also, the updates provided by the deputy administrator, the written updates that Councilperson Cottle talked about, very good to know what's going on. And I look forward to seeing more of those. I mean, as a council person, you get questions all the time, you know, what's going on here, what's going on there. And if the administration, you know, doesn't pass that information on, then each of us end up going to Eric or going to Scott or going to wherever to get the answers, which is, you know, certainly not ideal. So this, in addition to being a lot of great information, it also, I think, cuts down on staff time. So congratulations on getting that out. Look forward to that as well. But thank you for being here tonight. It's always a pleasure to have interaction with the public. So get out, enjoy the fair, have a good time.
Thank you. Councilmember Schmidt?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Maureen as well. That was a very good presentation on the taxes. Quite a bit of information there, but I appreciate all the information she brought to everyone. And thank you, Eric, for getting these proposals together for the transportation tips, so we could get some of this federal funding. I think that's a great job on that. Thank you. And I will probably not be attending the next meeting on the September the 14th. I do go on an annual moose hunt, and that's the date. Things may change. I may get home sooner or later. You never know, and I may call in. So if that's the case, I will do my best to make it, but it's about an 80% chance I will not.
Hopefully you get the moose quicker.
Either way.
Have fun. Councilmember Crafton?
Thank you. A couple questions I did have. First was to Eric. Eric, where we're at with the airport property acquisition. Did you say at the next meeting we're going to be getting some more information?
Yeah, there's a lot happening on that front. So I will pull together the updates that we've had before and where they stand. There's a parcel that, the large parcel we've been talking about. We have been meeting with the FAA on its importance to the extension that we've talked about. And because of the value of that parcel, we have to do another appraisal to meet the FAA's requirements. One of the other things that we're doing on the other parcels is explaining to the FAA on the ones that we've already purchased why we needed them. And we'll be explaining that there's this process showing if we can show that the whole parcel makes more sense than all the work and cost and time to subdivide it, then they'll join us in the complete purchase. So our consultant is pulling that together. So I will be bringing the council an update on where everything stands property acquisition wise. The other thing I want to let the council know is we're working with the borough fire department to burn down the Gardner house that we purchased. That was one of the first purchases we made. It froze last winter with all of the extreme wind events that we had. And so couldn't live in it anyway, but it needs to go down. And so we've been working with the fire department to make that happen. And it's looking very positive in their steps. So there'll be an agreement that we have to sign that I think will probably have to come in front of the council. I've asked legal to look at it. So I think the council will see that because of the way they do liability coverage. So you'll see more on that at the same time.
Are we burning marshmallows? Are we all?
We definitely should have a party. I don't know if we'll put marshmallows on it.
They're practicing.
Second question this one might be to our finance director, Wendy. Great presentation by Maureen there. Like I said earlier on sales tax, I know a lot of this was questions that I think the council has had hanging out there for a while. The big question is, what is the end goal for this presentation? Was it to just kind of say, hey, here's some changes? Are we expecting the administration to bring us forward some ordinance changes, or is this something that the council needs to, council members need to take up?
first and foremost, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. First and foremost, it was out of the meetings that Crystal and I sat down and met with you. Almost every one of you wanted to meet about that, or wanted some kind of understanding of what sales tax was here in the city. It really did flesh out a lot of things that need to change. And Maureen and I were going to be sitting down and looking at some of those revenue items that we said, that you could see, that you saw on her presentation, that need to be updated.
Okay, so there's a good chance we could be seeing an ordinance come forward from the administration, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, and then last question, I'm just gonna beat the drum again about our water and sewer rates. Would love to still have that meeting with, is it Muniworth? Waterworth with Muniworth, that's what it is. So just a reminder on that one again. too.
Yes, Eric and I have that on our agenda, and we definitely will be talking about that.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
If I may, I just had a thought. Would it help, Wendy, if we had, I was kind of thinking of how the council flushed through some of those changes with Title 16. Would it help if we brought back another sales tax presentation and you guys could kind of flush through? We're kind of on board for this, changing this exemption or increasing revenue here, but like this is completely off the table?
I mean, I'd be open to that. I think the biggest thing is don't throw it under a public introduction with no debate. I mean, know that when we talk about that one, it's gonna be a heavily debated topic. So
So
I would think the
maybe it's
biggest
something-
thing is
That would be wonderful.
making sure we have the time to debate and discuss it as a committee of the whole. So it'd almost be better to come in as a new business or something, committee of the whole discussion with here's the items. So
I
that'd be
think
my
that may end up being more fruitful in the end, just
Yeah.
a suggestion.
than feeling like we're beating up an ordinance that's been spent, many hours on working out, and just to turn out for us to be like, we don't like this, scrap it and start over. So, with that is all. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Great meeting tonight.
Thank you. Back to me. I just want to echo what everyone's saying. Maureen, her presentation was awesome. And so very informative, enjoyed it. And as I look at it, we no further business at hand and I'm adjourning.
Did you get Connell?
Yes, I got
You
it.
said Johnson twice.
Well, he was on there twice. He got lucky and Schmidt got left off. So I got it. I'm adjourning the meeting unless